Hi, Terick. This is Manny Marino with Dewood Sun out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I had a chance to partner with your mom on the purchase and make of this chair. This is the Viking natural stain inlaid chair in an Adirondack style. I'm making this video because I'm going to spend the next few minutes kind of talking you through the assembly process before I take it apart and then ship it. But just wanted to point out everything about the chair, the assembly, the maintenance, the stains that I use. And then again, as I take it apart, I'll walk you through the assembly process. But first thing that you need to know about the chair is all my chairs are made out of redwood cedar. So as far as like weather elements, you could leave it outside because it's redwood. Cedar, it's cedar wood. You don't have to worry about it retaining water or rotting, right? And then cedar is great for outdoor furniture anyway because it can be out in the hot sun all day and it doesn't, it repels heat. So that's another great thing about cedar wood. Um, your name is laser engraved, so you'll see that. And then of course I always just put my logo. It's very subtle, but anyway, so it was kind of fun to do that. And then here's some talking points about the inlay. So the whole Viking head is an inlay. If you look at it closely, and if all the pieces on each board are cut independent, and then I take them out, I stain them separately, and then I put it back together. If you were to go to the back, it's all put together back like a puzzle, and then of course glued and screwed in with some extra back support so you don't have to worry about it being loose or anything. The back is completely stained a dark color. It's called a red mahogany, as well as the base and the legs. As far as like the stain that I used, is I used the red mahogany for the dark horns. I used a red, I think it's called a Sedona red, and then I also used a brown tone, and then the entire chair is stained in golden pecan. So I would recommend at least once a year grab a ton of stain, especially the golden pecan, and give it another coat. And even the golden pecan, because it's a light natural stain, you can even go over the dark. The darks, because it's a dark pigment, dark stain, they'll stay stained dark. But in the event that you wanted to touch them up again, you certainly can. So here is the chair. I mean, it's pretty standard, a redwood cedar. I think one thing that you'll appreciate is the angle of the chair. I get really good feedback. It's an Adirondack style chair, but it's got more of an upright feel, and of course with the arms, it's girthy. So anyway, so that's how the chair looks like as far as assembly. But let me just walk you through the parts, right? And I'm just going to take a profile picture. So the first thing that you're going to have is the seat, right? To assemble the seat, and that's going to be your first step. This is a 2x6, right? The seat that it sits on, and in between, it's kind of hard to see because it's a dark stain, is a 2x6 brace that separates them both. So the first step is assembling the seat. I'm going to label underneath each of the seat slats, I call them, 1 through 7. So, and then I'll label them looking at the chair right to left, right? So everything is going to be labeled 1 through 7. As far as like the torque bit screws, as far as hardware, I use Torque screws, which are deck screws. They're coated. They won't rot. They won't rust. They're the finest. And then of course they'll come with the bit will be in there, and then the wood plugs that go on the top, and all the holes will be plugged. But anyway, I'm jumping around. The seat is first, right? So you put this on the ground first, and then you put your seat slats. So number them 1 through 7. The second step after your seat slats are in, and one thing, when you lay this on a flat surface, just make sure you start off the bottom even with the front, or even with the bottom to the bottom, if that makes sense, right? And then just walk it all the way 1 through 7. Second step is your front legs. Front legs are going to have this arm support, right? And this will be the right, the left. Now they're interchangeable, but I'm also going to mark it right. I want the right one to be on the right side and the left to be on the left, because with the lag bolts, those are pre-drilled per leg, right? So you want to make sure you match them up. And then on the back legs, you're going to be able to tell which is the back leg because the back leg has the angle, right? And then back legs go on the inside. Lag bolts always go from outside in. And then you're going to need a 9/16 socket. So it goes lag bolt, washer, lock nut, 9/16. And then in between, sorry, it's a dark stain, in between the two back legs is this back brace. Now, you can't really see it because, again, it's a little dark and I'm doing this at night, but there, when you slip in your back, it's going to be, the back brace, obviously, this entire back will be intact, and then the back brace just sits right there in between the two. One thing to point out when you're putting the back leg brace on that goes across the back, this one right here, this is a good picture. Follow the same hole patterns, right? And again, this will be labeled on the right side underneath, so you know, to the right back leg. Don't go all the way to the top, because if you do, then this corner is going to bump up this arm and it's not going to be flat. So there's a reason why there's like a 1/4 inch gap from the top of this to the top of the back leg. I hope that makes sense. You can get a good picture of that. So that's the second thing that you do once you do your seat, your front legs, back legs. Then the next thing that you're going to do technically is screw the arms in, right? So the arms are screwed from the top down. The back brace, and the reason you do that, and the last thing that you do, the last part that goes on is the back. But just because if you put the back in first, you're not going to be able to screw this in because it's kind of a funky angle, and you need to get this in first. So the back goes in, and then the front legs, the front arms have the two pilot holes. All these holes are already pre-drilled with a pilot, are pre-drilled, pre-sunk. So here's the deal. You can leave them flush like that to make it flush with the top of the wood, or sometimes what I like doing is I also, in the bag, you'll have sawdust. Sink the screws as far in as you can, fill it with a little pinch of sawdust, and then put the wood cap. So again, sometimes I go either or, but it's an option for you. You can keep them flush like that. Or sink them all the way down, fill it with sawdust, and then do the wood plug afterwards. But in case you want to do that, I'll have wood plugs for the top front here, and then the right, left, the left and the right arm. The back, I may have said this before, does not get in a wood plug, okay? So don't countersink that all the way. Yep, and then your arms, and then the last piece that goes on is your back. That just slips right in, just center it. And then when you screw it in, this is the only screws that are going to take the small ones, and small ones are 1 1/4 inch Torx screws, okay? So there's going to be a total of 12 of them in the back, and the only, just heads up, be mindful of not screwing them all the way in, right? Because then you'll puncture the back of the chair, which we don't want. So every single screw that you're going to be using for the seats, the legs, the arms are 2-inch screws. The back brace to the back of the back, take the smaller screws. So it's very straightforward. And then you're going to have, one thing I forgot to mention, you're going to have 2 screws here. Again, a little hard to see for the lighting. But you'll have the 2 screws that support and hold the back 2x6 brace in between the 2 legs. So that's pretty much it. You're going to need a rubber mallet to pound in the lag bolts. The torque screw, the bit is already in there. And if you have a longer one, it's a T25. It's helpful for your drill. And then you'll have wood plugs. And that is pretty much how you put the chair. So straightforward, pretty easy. If you have any issues, certainly call me. 612-423-1468. We could Skype or FaceTime, and I can kind of walk you through the assembly process. But it's straightforward as far as putting the chair, the seat, the arms, and the back together in that order. It shouldn't take too long. And Again, I'm Manny Marino at Do Wood Son. I'll put a couple business cards into the kit. Feel free to spread the word or tag me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm at Do Wood Son. Appreciate the business, and again, thanks to your mom. It was kind of fun to work with her, talk to her, because between her and I, we came up with the color, the design, the personalization. So, and then she also let me have a little bit of artistic expression by doing the two-tone with the darker base in the legs versus the natural color stain of the seat and the back. So that's pretty much it. Again, I'm gonna take this apart. I'll pause the video and give you one very fast parts walkthrough before I put it in that box and get it shipped out to you. So yeah, I'm gonna pause the video. Hey Terick, so again, I paused the video to take this apart. This is what your chair is going to look like, completely disassembled. I'm going to use cellophane wrap to wrap all of the wood to keep it from slipping and sliding in the box. But once you take it all apart, get rid of all that plastic, separate them like this, right? So your front seat slats, right? And again, look for the numbering. I started with number 1, starting with the personalized Terick one. 1 through 7, and then you have your 2x6s, right? And again, look for the marking. You can't see it because of the dark stain and the low lighting in here, but right, left. In between that sits the brace that goes in the back, and you're not gonna be able to see this in the video either, but I marked with my pen where the in between spacer fits, where it starts, and of course just look for the holes right on the outside. They have the pre-drilled holes, so look for that. So that's step number 2. Once you assemble the seat, your front legs, again, right and left. So I have them, again, tough to see, but marked on the top, which one's the left, which one is the right. And then they go from the outside in for your lag bolts. Your back legs, look for the markings, right, left. Those go on the inside of the leg, and then in between them is the back brace support, right? That's the one with all the holes in the back that takes the 1 1/4 inch Torx screws. Your arms, right and left, I have them marked underneath where they sit, right and left, and then in the back, and then of course here's your entire back piece. One thing I actually forgot to mention earlier is as you're assembling the seat 1 through 7, and where the number 7 ends, and where this goes in between, there's going to be a 1/2 inch space. That's where I call it the tail of the back slips in. And so underneath the chair, I forgot to mention that there are 3 2-inch Torx screws that go in here. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Putting it together, your seat assembly, your front legs, the back legs with the back brace, your arms, and then your seat. So they go in that order. Again, you'll have to just kind of watch the video for another quick reference. But that's how it is. Again, call me, text me if you have any issues, concerns. Feel free to please tell everyone where you got this chair at dowoodson.com. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I put some sawdust and for the holes they're going to be plugging, and then some business cards in there for you. So again, Miss Debbie and Terick, thank you so much for the business and the purchase. Thank you. Have a good day.